What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I'm your hostess, doing the mostest, Kiwanchi, and we are here with season 1, episode 3 of Spartacus, House of Ashur, titled Unworthy. The director of this episode is Michael Hurst. The writer is Sydney Quashie. And the cinematographer is Dave Garbett. Now, for those of you watching, this is not a product placement for Blue Moon or anything like that, just like Blue Moon. And literally since this show came back out, I've been calling beer swill. And so it's only right that I have some swill here with me. Delicious. Okay, so some things that was going on in the first couple of episodes. So y'all already know that at the end of episode 2, Achilea ripped off Spartacus's joystick, and he died from blood loss. And the Tory came back, he's just minding his business. He's just in there trying to make sure everybody is having a good time, but then everything is a ruckus outside. And there's a one-on-one battle between him and Achilea, and Achillea's like, whatever, I don't even want to be here anyway. So if I gotta die, I'm gonna die. Like, it is what it is. But lo and behold, she was the only one who was able to draw blood from Dottore. So he's like, all right, well, you can live and see another day. And, when Ashur gets back, then I'll just kind of tell him what happened and we're going to go from there. So Ashur is back and he is not happy. He doesn't already have to go to the market and grab Achilea to replace Logus, who died against the brother STARZ. And now he comes back and somebody else is dead too. So he's just like, what the hell is going on in the sheets in my home? And the Tory is like, listen, she did what needed to be done. You wasn't here. Like, it is what it is. And Ashur's like, I stand fucking Dominus. And Korris is like, and I, Dottore, upon the sands, my word is law. And I'm like, I know that's fucking right. Because otherwise, what is his purpose in the house if in the training arena, his word is not law, or at least taking them under advisement to the point where you're leaning towards his assessment. And this is a little bit different for Ashur because previous Dominuses and all the other Dominuses, Dominos, one of them, they can't fight. So Ashur is really the first person who has like the balls and the credentials to really challenge Dottore as far as like who's the better fighter. And so if Ashur was Batiates, for example, he can't fight. So of course, what the Dottore says goes to a very high degree. So you really see this power struggle between both of them, not only as Dominus and Dottore, but as friends. Like Korris is like, bro, trust me to lead this house in your absence. So Ashur's like, all right, bro. But if this shit don't work out, we're gonna have some problems. But since we lost somebody and you're keeping her, you're gonna go and get me somebody else. So the boys are all mad. I mean, they are pissed off. But Dottore has a thing to do, and so he leaves Calidus in charge. But during this time, you have Aratos basically, being like, oh, well, the Syrian and this woman, this Nubian and the Syrian. And so we're really getting into Nubian and Syrian being racial slurs at this point. And Calidus is like, that's your Dominus. We are here to serve this house. And so that's what we're going to do. And so Aratos is like, for now. And that goes that spirit of Spartacus again. And I talked about this in the last episode where we talked about the 2-episode premiere. And it's like Logus had that spirit, and now Aratos has that spirit of Spartacus too, and just like not wanting to be slaves and rising up against their dominance. But in this vein, it really feels like it's like when you want to be an advocate or an abolitionist in the name of your ancestors, but instead of doing the research on what they were actually fighting, you just kept going forward with what they were trying to do, and now you kind of lost the plot. Because although like Ashur is the dominus, he is very much aware that he was a former slave, and he uses the fact that he used to be them as the strength and as his greatest strength in how he's training in the house and how he treats everybody in the house. But, and I didn't write this down, I'm thinking about this now, Ashur doesn't have any memories of how Lucretia was able to get him into power. And so all we know is that in this storyline, he's the one who slayed Spartacus, right? But everybody's acting like he's the true enemy. And so it really makes me wonder, with the way that Logus was and the way that Aratos is acting, what is forgotten, not only to Ashur, but to the audience as well. Like, we're not seeing something, and that is what's keeping the spirit of Spartacus alive. Because I'm looking at it and I'm just like, they have no reason to be like coming at him like this, other than their own bigotry and racism, whatever. At the end of the day, like, y'all are the ones that's captured. Y'all are the ones that's slaves. You can't beat the terrain. You can't beat him. It's been proven. So like, why do you still have this beef, right? And so I'm curious, like, what are you hiding? And having seen the first 5 episodes, this is not something that is revealed. This is not something that I know. And I think I just like breezed over this portion in this because Aratos is like angry. And I love his name because it feels like the root terminology of the term erratic. And that's how he is, and that's where his energy lies as well. So Korris is out in the city, Kellinus is in charge, and they're old friends, so obviously he's gonna trust Kellinus. And Kellinus is very like, he sees the big picture, he accepts where he is, but he also understands that the circumstances could be worse. And so I feel like he has more loyalty to how they're being treated over loyalty to the whole slave and house master situation. Like, you could tell he doesn't like it, but you know, people talk, the streets talk. And Ashur, from Calidus's point of view, treats them like men. So there's definitely something that we're not being told as to why, like, you have Calidus being this way, and then everybody else has like a fuel behind them beyond a woman being in their training grounds and being trained as the champion of their house. So Steven, let me know, slide into my DMs and let me know, like, give me a hint if I'm on the right track. So anyways, we in the streets of Capua, and Korris is sent to the pits to find a new fighter, and he runs into Fides. So Fides is like an old friend, but he's a current worker bee of Proculus. So y'all already know we do not like Proculus. Proculus is bitch made. But Fides is like, listen, I'm not trying to be nobody's little errand boy for the longest, but yo, your man's done fell down on hard times, so can I get a little coin from you? You know what I'm saying? And Korris is like, bruh, I see you have fallen on hard times. You seem to have hit in the swells just a little bit too hard. and whatever drugs that they done had back in those times. But, you know, homeboy's teeth is rotten, gums is black, his hair ain't been washed, skin is crazy, okay? He needs to go to a bathhouse. But Korris is like, bro, you need to find some other ways to get out from under Proculus, and you're also not getting any money from me. Like, I'm not going to fund you continue to destroy yourself. And Fidesz is like, hold on, my guy. Don't get too big for your britches. Because while you sit over here trying to come at me and the secrets and stuff that I keep, how would the Syrian feel about the secrets that you keep? And I said, hold on. Because the nosy person in me said, well, what secrets are those? And is it tied to how he became Doctore of this house? But then the other part of me is, I love Korris. He's such a big teddy bear. Like, he will beat your ass. But also he cares about the gladiators. He cares about having a genuine champion of the house. And he cares about Ashur's name being something that's noble. And so I feel like if the secret is something that could be a betrayal to Ashur, I will be hurt, because the way that he's been acting, like he would die for this house. He loves this house. So yeah, I definitely got my ears open, and my mind is still going to be available to whatever that little line was, because there's no such thing as throwaway lines, right? And Steven did not come back to this franchise to just have people saying shit, to just be saying shit. So my mind is open. So Operator ends up seeing him after Korris basically dismissed Fidesz, and Operator was like, hey cutie, what are you doing here? And Korris is like, you know, Ashur sent me here to basically try to figure out how I can see Anubis, because the rumor is that he got a lot of money. And y'all already know that Ashur confided in Gabinius about how Crassus's money is running short, and he's gonna need to be funding, you know, all the things that he needs to keep the people healthy enough in the house to continue to feed them, to continue to provide them with women and drink, and, you know, reward them with things, and to pay whatever payment, not only to himself, but to the people of the house. And Operator was like, it seems that your Syrian has sent you out on a feudal mission, because Anubis ain't got no money. He broke his fat. But listen, if you know, take me out on a little date, then I think that I can arrange some things and get you the funds that you need. And so Korris is like, you know that I think you're cute. And I wasn't sent here for that. But you know what? I ain't got nothing else to do. So they go back and they're having wine and everything like that. And I love the energy in this room. So Operator is just like, listen, you are letting Ashur use you. Like, that man would be nothing without you. You are but an eagle on a chain, and the rooftop is open, and you have the idea and the falsities of being free. But if you fly too high, he's gonna yank you back. You're better than this. And Korris is like, bro, what are you talking about? And Operator was like, listen, you're big, you're strong, I'm small and I'm tiny. I'm so small and tiny, he's so big and tall. And, you know, you could do better. And so Korris is like, well, how high would I fly underneath you? Or would you like it if you were underneath me? And Operator's like, babe, we're so high, walking on cloud nine. And Korris is like, okay. But the energy, right? Let's talk about the energy. So I want to say, what is his first name? Graham. So Graham McTavish, I believe this is his first gay role, right? And I don't think he's gay in real life, but either way, the energy in this room. Oh, Korris has the level of self-restraint and discipline that just is beyond words. And this isn't the first time where him being faced with the opportunity to be able to relax and just let his hair down is there. Even Ashur had to force him to take his clothes off and just take a bath and just relax and soothe and think about everything that's going on. Like, dude, like, don't work yourself up in a tizzy. And so he's already a man that denies himself pleasures in pursuit of greatness and in pursuit of excellence. And so in this meeting, Abner is flirting and he's testing the waters, and you could tell that there's a history there. And you could tell that Korris remembers this history, but he's there for a reason and he's there to do a job. And so you can just feel like that energy and that friction and those sparks in the room as they're having this back and forth and having a very serious conversation with the undertones of, I remember your body. I remember your smell. I remember your moans. I remember how you sound when I enter you. And like that is being held in this space. And so for the actor, for Graham, this being his first role in that, when I tell you it was executed very well. And I like that. I'm pretty sure they have an intimacy coordinator on there, and I'm pretty sure, or I hope the intimacy coordinator was just like, when you are taking on a gay role, it's not different than anything. Like intimacy and sexual gratification and arousal is a primal physiological response, right? It's why even if you prefer being with women and things like that, if you see two men kissing or moaning or whatever, you're going to be aroused. Your body is going to be like responding to it because it's just a base need. Has nothing to do with your frontal lobe and anything else that you're putting in the way to stop it, right? And so when you're approaching these roles, especially if it's same sex and you've never been in that situation, there's nothing to really overthink. Deliver the lines and think about how you would feel in sexually charged situations, in what it would sound like. And the imagination is a powerful thing. So you can deliver those lines and be thinking, even if, let's say you have to think of a woman to, be in the moment with this man or whatever, you know what it feels like to feel pleasure. You know what it feels like to pleasure yourself. So it's like, just be you and just let the thing be the thing without putting a label on it and without being like, oh, well, this is two men or this is two women and I've never done this before. Your body knows what to do. And so in this space, there was nothing overtly sexual, but that energy between both of them was just like, yes. Yes. Can you tell that I will be pursuing intimacy coordinator certification? Yes, I love intimacy. I love like sexual education. And so shows like this, in moments like this, really excite me because everything outside of penetration is where like the power is and where the magic is. And with Korris's character specifically and the amount of restraint that he has, you just know like, if he just let himself release just one time, it'll be great, but he won't. And so his character is essentially like edging himself along the way. But, let's get back to the plot. So they're there, they're having a conversation or whatever. And Korris is like, you know what? I'm gonna take all of this information into consideration. You were great company. And the operator is like, well, you know, maybe next time we'll do more than talk. And Korris is like, maybe. So he leaves, and we're just like going on about our business. We out. He's walking by, making his way downtown, walking fast, faces pass. But then some of those faces ended up pausing. And Korris is not no idiot. He's like, okay. One person turning around to look at me. Cool. I'm a big dude. Two people turning around looking at me. Hey, I'm a big fine ass dude. Three of y'all? What's up? And at this point, fisticuffs. We fight in the streets. Men are coming from every which way. And Korris is fighting for his life. And you really get to see him in his prowess. He's been training Achilea to fight two men. You know, he's putting the things out. He fought her one-on-one. He's fought everybody else one-on-one. But we've really never seen what he's been saying. Like, I am the champion of this. I fought these things. I survived these things. Baby, it's like 8 people in the street and he's beating their ass. Beating him. He did end up getting like a little cut, little stab on his arm, but baby, that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. And so he's killing everybody, and he ends up seeing Fight Ass, and he's like, Fight Ass, you stupid motherfucker. And so he's like, you know, put you up to this, and Fight Ass is like, no, like I didn't want to do this. Like somebody paid me, like bro, like let's just like bygones be bygones. And as Korris is trying to figure out and get the information from Fight, somebody else ends up stumbling up and coming after Korris, so he has to let him go because now his life is in imminent danger because somebody's trying to stab him in the back. And he does injure Fight. He got a couple of punches, a couple of stabs up in there, and Fight ends up getting away. And Korris is mad, and so he takes it out on this dead man that's in front of him, and he pounds his head into like the brick concrete curb thingy, and then he stomps it so his head is just splitting into multiple pieces. If he wasn't so frustrated, which made me frustrated, I would have thought that this was an incredible scene. I mean, hindsight is an incredible scene, but it's so gory. Like, I love it so much. So he ends up getting away. Meanwhile, at the house, right? So Ashur is watching Achilea, and Hilara comes up and she was like, babe, I think she hiding some shit. And he's like, girl, you don't even know her. What makes you think? Well, so yesterday I had went down to the cellars and talked to her. And he was like, girl, know your role and shut your mouth. Why are you even talking to her? So Hilara's like, listen, I know you was mad. I didn't put myself in danger, but like something is off with this girl. Like she's hiding something. And so Ashur's like annoyed. But he's like, you know what? That's not an inaccurate assessment because I've also been trying to figure out where is that spark and where's that fight from the person that I found in the market. So he goes down and he's like, we finna fight because I need to figure out like what's going on. What's the assessment of you? And I love this. Ashur as a dominance, and I'm going to keep saying it, is incredible. He knows how to fight. He knows what it takes. And he's not just standing at the top looking over everybody and looking down on them and dictating some things. No, he can see where your weaknesses are. He sees where your strengths are, and he's going to put them to the test. He's going to exploit the areas in which you have many shortcomings, but as he's going to attack the areas that you are strong so that you can continue to strengthen those things. And so she complains again about the shield. And he was like, okay, girl, get you 2 swords. Fight how you want to fight. We ain't got to worry about the shield. It is what it is. So they're fighting. And of course, he beat her ass. And so the men, they're kind of looking along like they're frustrated that she's getting his attention, but they're happy that she's getting her ass beat. They don't really know how to sit in this. And so everybody is just watching. And so he's like, what's holding you back? What keeps you weak? What's making you fail? Achilles don't say nothing. He like, all right, well, since you ain't gonna say shit, everybody just gonna be out here training. So he goes back into the house, and Hilara is up there. And she's just like, you're wasting your time on her. She needs to leave. This is no place for her. And Ashur goes the fuck off. And he was like, you are not my wife. Know your place, you slave. And Hilara's like, okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. So he's frustrated. He goes, he takes a breather. He goes and pees, takes a sip of swill, which I will do. And he goes right back out there because he's annoyed, he's frustrated, he's pissed. Because it's like, you really get the understanding that he has such a belief in Achilles because he sees himself in her. And it's like, if he can't break through to her, then how can he break through to himself? So there's a lot of symbology in his connection to her that you pick up right away. But Hilara is watching and her feelings are bruised. Ego is hurt. Achilles already called her a mouse. Ashur was like, you ain't my bitch. So she just standing up there like, man, whatever, man. It is what it is. Cool. I lace up his shoes, lace up his cloth, feed him, give him a bath, and mind my fucking business. And Messia's up there. She was like, listen, you take care of him. You take care of everybody else. But who's taking care of you, girl? And Hilara's like, I forgot my place. I am but a slave. And I am here to serve my dominance. And Messia's like, well, babes, I'm here to serve you. And Hilara's like, thank you so much. Like, I've never had anybody look out for me. I've always had to be strong. I've always been underestimated. And Messi is like, no. You warm his cock, and I warm the lips between those thighs. And Hilara's like, okay, thank you. But we're cool. We just girlfriends. Like, never had a friend like you. Yeah. And Messi was like, girl, I was just playing. We could just pretend like this never happened. And so Hilara's like, okay, cool. But like, thank you though. Like, it is what it is. And she goes back and she's watching the fight. So Ashur is down there being Achilles' ass, and she's fighting wild. And he's parrying every attack. And I'm just sitting here screaming at the TV like, girl, pull them elbows in, tighten your core, get your strong foot behind you, balance your weight. Like, this is me screaming at the TV, and she is just swinging wild. Everything is wide open. Ma'am, if you're not gonna fight with a shield in front of your body, you're going to have to keep the shit tight. Stick and move. Stick and move. But she's swinging her arms around her body, which means every time her arms are back, the weight distribution is now pulled to the back of you towards your scapula. And so now your equilibrium is leaned back. He don't have to do anything but kick you in your fucking face and knock you backwards, which he does. He takes his shield and hits her right in the fucking eye, bro. I mean, nose bleeding, orbital bone is cracking, and she goes flying backwards. Every time he hits her, why do you fail? She ain't saying nothing. She's grunting and she's screaming and swinging wild, losing all types of fundamentals. And he's like, fail, knock her ass out. Fail, knock her ass out. Got her down to the ground, and he is like, why do you fail? So then she's already getting mad. She's getting emotionally hijacked. He knocks her stuff out of her hand, and she almost went flying over the cliff. So he grabs her by the back of her leather vest and then body slams her ass on the ground. man, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. You either gonna tell me or I'm going to stomp a mud hole in your chest. And she tells him, did I put it? Because I stand unworthy, my duty forsaken, and the memory shackles fucking mind. And finally, she's voicing the thing that she is battling. Because how can you battle the enemy in front of you if the enemy from within is clouding your judgment? So finally, this was basically Ashur beating the dog shit out of her shame and out of her humiliation so that she can see the light through the struggles. And he's actually proud and he's actually pleased. And he offers her his hand and he's like, finally, now we can get to the real training. Now you can actually be the champion of this fucking house. This was really tough to watch. But as y'all will see, not this week, but on the 19th, when I dropped the complete interview with Tamika Davis, who plays Achilea, she talks about how the main thing that she demanded from her male co-stars is that they don't hold back. Because if they hold back, then the desperation that she has to overcome being beaten by men, it would be inauthentic. And so she begged for them to do that. And she states that Nick had no issues doing it. But he's been in her shoes before. And so there's probably not an issue because he knew what it took to bring that out of her as a performer and to bring it out of the character. So it was definitely hard to watch. It was brutal, very brutal. And who else was having difficulties watching this? Kelladis. And Kelladis has stepped in for her plenty of times. Even earlier in this, where Aratos is fighting, but he's just going on and on and on and on and on. And to the point where even Tarkhan is fighting him, and Tarkhan can't stand Achilea. But he is just erratic and he is just trying to attack Achilea. And so Kelladis has to step in and beat the shit out of him and tell him who the fuck he is. Like, yeah, I'm older than y'all, but don't get it twisted. Korris made me Dottore for a reason. Y'all can't whip him and you damn sure can't beat my ass. And so we're not about to have disorder on these sands. Not while I'm here, not while Korris is here, and definitely not in front of the Dominus, because this is embarrassing and you look like a goddamn fool. And so all of that happened before he even came back out here to challenge her, to deal with her. And so we're going through all of this, and what he ends up saying after he picks her up, he says, the weight you carry, it is in no interest in the eyes of the arena. The past stands not of who we are. The present is what holds meaning, the promise of tomorrow. And I'm just going to make that my line of the week, because when we talk about the story of the underdog and we talk about how, he's being called Syrian, she's being called Nubian to their faces and behind their backs. And we really look at, the past. Yes, consequences of your past will still come up. You can't escape it. But when you accept that that is what it is, you can just do what you need to do right now to not do those same things in the future. And so it's him saying that that's not only a reminder to her, but a reminder to himself. And I really like that. So later that night, Ashur's like, all right, you drew blood from Dottore. We finally broke through. We get somewhere. You're a cool fighter. I'm going to brand you, and you will officially be accepted into the Brotherhood. And so here go Tarkhan, big mouth ass again. She ain't have to get on the balance beam and say the rain and get knocked off on there. And Ashur was like, okay, which one of y'all drew blood from Dottore? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody want a cupcake? 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 Baba? Okay, exactly. So he goes and he delivers the oath, and she repeats it. And she says, I swear to be burned, chained, beaten, or die by the sword in the pursuit of honor in the arena. And this makes her an official gladiatrix. But I like this line, I'm getting emotional, because when she says chained, and I tried to read it in the way that she said it, there's confidence in every word except that one. I swear to be burned, chained, beaten, or die by the sword in pursuit of honor in the arena. Our people were yanked into the Western world and into all of these other places by chain and in brutality. And it speaks to what Achilea is willing to do in this deal with Ashur. She willingly accepted being a slave, but to vocalize being chained, being physically restrained, speaks to that being the breaking point and being a wild trigger. Again, she was brought there and changed, and she used that to wrap it around Ashur's throat. But everything else she says in confidence, she don't mind getting burned. She don't mind getting beaten. She don't mind dying by the sword, because those are all the things that she would have done in her previous life. And in her previous life, she was free. And so now she has to swear and then be branded that she is willing to be chained in pursuit of his vision. The delivery of that just sent chills down my spine. And you can see that Ashur felt that. And maybe as somebody who cut his own brand off, he understood in that moment how hard this actually is for her, because it's the same type of freedom that he craved in the past and that he continues to crave as he seeks power amongst the major players in Rome. So good. This was such a delicious episode. Love it. So he brands her and he looks around at everybody and he says, let this put end to fucking disagreement. The absence of prepositions in the language and in the writing is so fun. I want to just start walking around talking like this. I already said swill earlier. My wife was like, swill? She thought it was a name on a thing. And I'm like, no, I'm just calling Bear Swill because I'm in my Spartacus era. I'm in my Spartacus bag. She rolled her eyes. But it's just like, he says, let this put end to fucking disagreement. Like, not let us put an end to this disagreement. Like, no, we're just getting rid of all things that we're speaking in active voice at all times. So if you're ever writing like an English paper and it's like, oh, you do like the Flash Kincaid score and it tells you like how active your paper is, how passive your paper is, it's because you have like hella prepositions and conjunctions and all of these other things. Just speak like this and then start reading it and figure out what makes sense. Plug and play. So during this time, Doctoria returns, and Ashur's like, bro, what the fuck happened to you? And he's like, bro, long story, but I think Proculus is out here trying to set us up. And he's like, okay, did Fides say that? And he's like, nah, he didn't say it. Somebody ended up attacking me. I have to end them. And so he is going over everything, but while he's getting patched up by the doctor, we find that what we thought Korris was actually doing was a setup in seeds of falsehoods out there. So Ashur's like, did you say what needed to be said? And Korris is like, people are biting. I got you. And so it's like, that argument earlier, was it a performance for the people in the house slaves, the people that are always there, always listening. Was that a performance, and was the real plan said in confidence out of the gaze of them and out of the gaze of us as viewers and as audience members? Because there was nothing that gave that away, that this was what was happening. And then Korris comes back and Ashur is like, but did you get it done? And he's like, yes. So it's like, okay. Y'all want to keep underestimating the Syrian? Do that. Because what happens is when you continue to disregard somebody as unimportant, you no longer look at them as a threat. And when you don't look at them, that's when they're the most dangerous. And so I'm loving it. Ash, babe, what do you have up your sleeve? Speaking of sleeves, robes, and gowns, we're in the house Gabinius, and Kasutia wants to convince Gabinius to reintroduce Viridia back into society at the games. Now, Viridia is definitely a daddy's girl, and Gabinius is like, bruh, she's still horny. You know she don't like that shit. And Kasutia was like, I don't care what she likes. She is a woman of power, a woman of nobility, and she's gonna do what needs to be done. The ladies in the street keep trying to come at me because she out here by herself. You think I'm over here trying to raise a spinster? I'm over here in a verbal battle against a bitch that's lesser than me, but she was making points, and I'm gonna need to be able to win these points. I can't just look cute. I can't just be rich. They need to bow down to me. And so Gabinius was like, well, it could be interesting. I did think about how she was so taken aback, or so taken with Ashur, and he wants to be in the games. And Kasutia was like, bro, we still entertaining this? That man is scum. He is beneath us. Like, what are we doing? And Gabinius was like, well, I brought him over here last night and I told him what was going on with Pompey and with Crassus and everything like that. And she was like, are you fucking serious? You're not going to confide in me, but you're going to confide in him? And he's like, hold on, my love. Everything that I told him was a lie. And this is a test of his loyalty. So if he goes back to Crassus and I find out that Crassus knows what I told him, then that will let me know that his loyalty lies with Crassus and it's deep, and it will be much harder to break whatever this thing that they have going on. But if this information does not get back to Crassus, it means that there's something within him that I can exploit and use to my advantage while still keeping my foot on his neck, and he'll never see power. And Kasutia is mulling this over, and she's like, I see what you're doing, but I feel like you're underestimating him. Like, this is not the type of man that you can play these type of tricks with. This is a man who was a traitor to his own people, who stabbed Spartacus in the back in pursuit of his own power. You're going to have to do more than that. And Gabinius is like, well, you're going to have to sit over here and quiet you, girl, because I don't understand why you're running your mouth. I said what I said. Go look cute, go powder your nose, go do your hair, go out and have some tea, and shut the fuck up. And so Kasutia is like, okay, bet, cool, you got it. So he leaves, and when he left, she was talking again, and she knocked that whole ass chessboard over, and everybody's just gonna hurt, and you could just feel like the frustration, because it's like, she's smarter than her husband. But he coddles her child and he binds her hands. So later on, she's sulking a little bit, scheming. When a letter comes from the footman and he's like, this is for the Dominus. And she was like, all right, I'll read it. Now, here's the thing. Unless the sender says explicitly only for this person's eyes, they'll give the letters to the domina of the house too. She reads it. He was like, do you want me to go get him? She was like, nah, I got it. I'll do it in honor of his name, I know I'm in. She sends him along the way. She burns the letter. So, everything else has happened in this story. And we cut to Fides is in the rain. He in the streets. He's injured. But this is not like a grave injury. And so he's running up. And he's like, yo, it's me. I did what you said. And who is it that comes out in the rain looking like Black Riding Hood? Kasuchi. So she's like, did you do it? Is it done? And he's like, well, Korris is still breathing, but I did sow seeds. Therefore, I am no longer in your husband's debt. So you can get this message to him. And so now you're putting two and two together and you're just like, Fides is the one that sent the message specifically to Gabinius. And whatever it is that he owed, we don't know that yet, but she intercepted this. And so Kasuti is like, you let him live. Can't nobody know about this. And she slits his fucking throat. And so while she walks away in Rome's finest robes, he is left in the rain, bleeding to death. So, there's that. Spartacus, House of Ashur, Season 1, Episode 3, Unworthy. Love this episode. So, first off, my first thoughts. Ashur is definitely being looked at as a pawn by Gabinius. Kasutia sees Ashur for who he is. He may not be, she don't know if he's a rook, a knight, a king, or a queen, but she knows that he is not a pawn and that he's not a throwaway. So there's this battle between Gabinius and Kasutia, but on the outside, she has to do what he says because he's the man. But Ashur is keeping some things close to the vest that we have not seen. And I love stuff like this. I love when the audience has no idea what's going on behind the scenes and then like something will happen and you're like, wait. And then you end up getting the discovery later on after other plays are made. And so I love that whatever conversations that he's had with Korris that we have not seen has led to Gabinius thinking that he played Ashur, but then now Ashur going into the city and having Korris lie. Nothing that's necessarily direct about Gabinius or even tied to Gabinius, but people talk and there's rumors. And Apater, he gay, and he be running his mouth in them gay clubs. They know Korris is gay. They know all of this information is gonna get back, and the whispers are gonna get back into the house. Like everybody, he's like the gay gossip of the town. Everybody knows this. And so it was not by chance that Apater was there and that he told Apater about Anubis and the money issues in the House of Ashur. So that makes one think, are there money issues at all? And was the story that he told Gabinius actually a lie that he wrapped up with the truth, with the story of his branding? Ashur, I see you, baby. I love it. And then, of course, like I mentioned earlier, Ashur and Achilea, they're two sides of the same judged coin. And I love their relationship. I do feel like there will be an uprising in the house. And I think Ashur and Achilea are going to be the ones attacked. And they're going to have to band together. There's like, it's just too much stirrings and dissension to be ignored. And it doesn't matter if we think, well, Ashur is treating them better than everybody else. It doesn't matter, because whatever it is that he cannot remember is the thing that is fueling them. And I'm really excited because I feel like it's going to be such a bloodbath and just an epic battle scene. And I'm ready for it. Another prediction, I think that Messia is going to turn against Hilara, thus turning against the house in a very huge and pivotal betrayal. I think that Messia will be the key to Gabinius finding a weakness in the household simply due to the rejection. And if you saw the scene where Ashur basically apologizes to Hilara, was like, you know, I don't want to have a conversation between slave and dominance. I want to have a conversation between Hilara and Ashur, right? He recognizes that he's never talked to her that way. And yes, she has a right to believe that she has say so, because you allowed her to do that. And you've taken her ear in confidence this entire time. And, you know, in the normal threesomes that they normally have, Hilara dismisses Messia as if she's the slave and Hilara is the domina of the house. That ain't gonna go over too well. It's not. And so I definitely think that Messia is gonna be messy and involved in some type of betrayal that's going on. I don't know. It's just giving that's gonna be a side quest storyline. And even if it's not something that will directly be a betrayal against Ashur, it's going to be a betrayal against Hilara, and it's going to be something that takes her attention away from Ashur. She watches him like a hawk. She don't want nobody to touch him, don't lay a hand on him. Her loyalty, she loves him. And I feel that Messia is going to do something to hurt Hilara, to betray Hilara, but it's going to take her attention away from Ashur, and that's going to be a vulnerable moment where Ashur watches himself, Korris watches his front, but nobody's watching his back. And that might be the opening to begin to bring him and his house down. So those are all of my thoughts, guys. Again, I won't get into too many predictions until we do episode 5. But these particular ones are things that I think I must have just skimmed over or blinked before. And so I just had these thoughts as I was rewatching this episode, and I'm just like, nah, this has to come up in like episode 6 or 7. But we got 10 episodes. So we'll see. I don't know. But those are just my predictions for the back half of this. Y'all tell me in the comments what you think. And you know the drill as we wrap this up. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Leave comments in the comments box below. Share the Spotify and the Apple Podcasting links for those who only want to listen on a long commute, a plane ride, a train ride, a bike ride, a run, a workout, whatever it is. You can also follow me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, where I post film and TV news and updates. And I also post articles and links to those articles that I do on my written publication for shows and episodes that I don't talk about on the channel. Or if I talk about it on the channel, I may revisit a highly anticipated episode or an episode that got like so many crazy views that is being raved by critics. And I guess I'm a critic now too. So raved by us. You can also find me on TikTok, where I do short form reviews on films and TV shows or episodes, where I give different thoughts and stuff that I don't necessarily talk about on this channel. And that's going to be at Givenchy. You can also find me on my main Twitter page at Givenchy, where I'm talking about everything film, art, music, and entertainment. And you can also find me on the official podcast and just internet, the official podcast Twitter page at Pod. So there's that. News and updates. For those of you watching, I'm getting the stuff up on my wall. I'm like building the space behind me with like all my posters and just different things that I like, different Funko Pops and just autographed stuff that I got from different conventions and photos that I have with some of my favorite celebrities and performers and stuff like that. It's all around. But as I continue to get this space together, it's not done. But, you know, you get to see me and piece it together from when I moved and I was on the couch in the living room and, you know, bare bones up until now. So I'm excited about that. And then just remember, in the new year, we will be doing some exclusive content on Patreon. But this December, during the week of Christmas, just like we did for Thanksgiving, there will be something exclusive on YouTube that has nothing to do with recaps or reviews or anything like that. Again, just another dose of what's coming to Patreon, but bringing it to YouTube because y'all deserve to see it first before we move over to Patreon for exclusive content. There will be different tiers for different memberships. So any support that you have will always be welcome. At the end of the day, I do this because I love it, not because I'm like looking to get anything out of it or get a lot of money or be super famous for it or whatever. I literally started this talking to nobody and talking into the void. And as y'all see, I do this by myself and I be talking for fucking hours. So I just love this shit. And with that, I will catch y'all in the next podcast episode.